let's just take a deep breath in. And as we breathe out, just allow yourself to relax. Deep at the center of your being is a wellspring of divine love. And I invite you right now to open to that love. Feel it flow throughout your body. Feel it opening your heart to divine love. Divine love nourishes every cell of your body temple. And if there's anything unlike love disturbing you, just breathe in right now. And as you breathe out, just let that go. Allow Spirit to gently and easily return you to your natural state of love. Divine love is who and what you are as a child of God. So just allow your thoughts, words, and actions to be loving and kind. You respond to situations and others from a place of love. And as a presence of love in this world, you draw to you love from all those around you. Your love blesses all those in your life, blesses those with whom you pray. Your love blesses the world. So as we move into a moment of silence, just for a moment, I ask that you notice that divine love is all around you. And as we go into the silence, just take this thought with you. I am divine love. As you move now back into our sanctuary, feel God's love radiating from you and filling your heart with gratitude and joy. And as you feel this love, just know that you are deeply loved. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Juanita. You are divine love. Good morning. Good morning. And you are divine love. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness. A state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Our thoughts are prayers, the tools that we create. Our thoughts are prayers that Spirit resonates with. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of mindfulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. And every thought becomes a prayer. Face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. just sit back in your seat and lower your eyes or close them and allow my voice to be your voice as I speak in the first person. And I realize there is just one power, one presence. I call it God. And as I know this is true for me, I know it's true for each and every one of you that can hear my voice right here and right now. I am so very grateful to be standing in this beautiful spiritual home and realizing that this God essence bursts through me, through every one of my cells. I hold high watch by being grateful for the love and joy. And so therefore, that's all I see in every beautiful face sitting in these seats in front of me. I am so very grateful for each and every one of you that showed up today. I'm grateful for our ministers, our ministry of prayer that hold high watch for each and every one of you and all the happenings in the news. I'm grateful for the sound booth, for Julia's, for the music selections that are picked today from Patty and David. I'm very grateful for the volunteers. I am just so very grateful to be here today. I now release my word into the absolute perfect law, knowing it's already done. And together we say, yes, so it is.
Well, thank you, Kathy. So what do you feel? You feel like singing? We don't have a drum machine, so lest I say you are it. Oh, yes. Ooh, don't you feel it now? Well, I do. Here we go. I am blessed. Woo! I am blessed. Stand it. Every day of my life. Yes, I am blessed, 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 blessed. When I wake up in the morning, woo,
say God bless America. The people that were praying for me this morning, the car started. All right. So, if it's comfortable for you, put your hand over your heart and say with me, God bless America and the rest of the world. And turn to a neighbor and say good morning and bless you.
Beautiful day. So one of my favorite singers ever, I say it every single time, and I know you know who it is because I say it every time. Her voice is like silk. She's incredible, and she has sung all over the world. When I grow up, I want to be her. So I just want to tell you honestly how much I love you. Thank you for coming and blessing us again. Please put your hands together for an incredibly warm welcome for an incredible woman. Mortonette Stevens, Dr. Reverend Mortonette
Stevens. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I would just like to say thank you for having me. And the song I'm going to sing now, it's a song that we generally think of. It's been used to describe love, and people have gotten married to it and celebrated, anniversaries and different things to it. But I'm going to sing this song as if God is singing it directly to you. Okay? And I hope you like greatest love this world has known. This is the love I give to you, and more than the simple words I hear you say when you pray. My love just gives and loves you more. Each day more than you'll ever know. My arms hold your very soul, your life. It is in my keeping, waking, sleeping, laughing, weeping. Longer than always is a long, long time. But far beyond forever, you were made divine. Just to know that I live forevermore. So in your heart, be very sure, no one else will love you more. Oh, more than the greatest love this world. This is the love I give to you, and more than the simple
words I hear you say when you pray. My love just lives to love you more and more and more and more each day. More than you'll ever know. My arms hold your very soul. Your life, it is in my keeping. When you're waking, when you're sleeping, when you're laughing, when you're weeping, longer than always. It's a long, 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 long time, but far beyond forever. Know that you are divine. Just know that I live forevermore, and in your heart, be very sure no one else will love you. My love lives forevermore. So in your heart, be very, very sure no one else will love you more. Stay sure no one else will love you more. Be sure no one else will love you more. Yeah. No one else will love you more. No, 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 love you more.
Pretty smooth, huh? Smooth. I was smooth like that once in my life. I was 2 months old and covered in baby oil. I was smooth. Yeah. Lord. All right, lots to talk about here, going on here. Now. Okay. All right. So the title of my talk today is Treatment Deals with Thought. And then I have subtitled Bob Proctor. This is interesting the way, again, I marvel that as a minister, when you have been given the privilege to speak, if you treat about it and you devote yourself to it, how the universe downloads to you. It's very, it's such a gift. So, what exactly is the secret? And the reason that I say this is because what I notice is, why do some people seem to thrive? Just thrive. And others just seem to survive. Why do you see some people achieve tremendous success and then others just kind of seem to get by? Cradle to grave, kind of just... I've noticed that some people are fierce, massive, manifesting machines. And then I see others who seem to manifest a little bit here, a little bit there. And so it looks like some were born lucky. Looks like maybe some were born unlucky. I mean, does fate play a part in this? Are you destined maybe to achieve, to acquire, to go to those places that seem to be reserved for the few? And then are others, is fate against them. They muddle amongst the masses. And I'm so interested in the fact that there are times when we manifest so superbly in some areas of our lives, and then there's some areas of our lives that were a little ineffective. So I'm laying in bed in the middle of the night, and I'm thinking of these things. I wake up and I'm thinking of these things. And so, you know, the sun is fast asleep, the moon is wide awake. I'm laying there and I'm exploring this. I'm asking these questions. And just as a side note, if you are awakened in the middle of the night and you're having these thoughts about life and maybe Spirit is speaking to you, that's a very profound time. The universe has a message for you. And so I'm sitting there and I'm asking these questions, and in the silence, I just have this flash of illumination. And all I sort of saw or heard was Bob Proctor. I could hear as clear as day, Bob Proctor. And so I learned that even though it's the middle of the night, that's the time I need to act on that. So I literally went from my bedroom to my office, I turned the computer on, and I Google Bob Proctor. I just say, Bob Proctor. The first thing that comes up, it says net worth of Bob Proctor. Net worth, $22 million. And I thought, how did he move from the ordinary to the extraordinary? How did that happen? And so in the middle of the night, I read about his life, and I watch some of his videos. And then they have interviews with him. And I literally journeyed through the path of his life. And as I was doing that, I had two very powerful bursts of inspiration and insight. And the first one was this, and although it may not seem like it's anything new, but the way the message came to me and the way I was receptive to it, Bob gave me a great reminder. And it was this. He says, you and I become what we think about. We become whatever images we funnel into our minds. And then he quotes from his favorite book, written by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. The original written in 1937. And he quotes from the book on page 14 and 15. A little read. When the English poet W.C. Henley wrote the prophetic lines, I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul, he should have informed us that the reason we are the masters of our fate and the captains of our souls is because we have the power to control our thoughts. Regardless, there are times I can get so caught up in the story or the stories around me. Sometimes I lose sight that I can still control what I'm thinking. He goes on to say, he should have told us that the ether in which this little planet floats, in which we move and have our being, is a form of energy moving at an inconceivably high rate of vibration, and that the ether is filled with a form of universal power, which adapts itself to the nature of the thoughts we hold in our minds and influences us in natural ways to transmute our thoughts into their physical equivalents. Sounds very similar to our teaching, yes? If the poet had told us of this great truth, we would know why it is that we are the masters of our fate and the captain of our souls. He should have told us with great emphasis that this power makes no attempt to discriminate between destructive and constructive thoughts. That it will urge us to translate into physical reality thoughts of poverty just as quickly as it will influence us to act upon thoughts of riches. So again, surrounded by this powerful, intelligent ether, discriminates not against what we might be thinking, but rather takes those thoughts and brings them into physical form in our lives. Mr. Proctor goes on and he says this: life is learning how to think. That is how we create. Thought, he says, equals life. Now, whenever I read something, I always go back to the cornerstone of our teaching. Does it align with what we know and teach here? So, I go to Dr. Holmes, our founder, and the author of the Science of Mind textbook. I go to page 29, and he says, each is drawing from life what he thinks into it. Sounds very similar, right? To learn how to think is to learn how to live. For our thoughts go into a medium, an ether, that is infinite in its ability to do and to be. Man and woman, by thinking, can bring into their experience whatsoever they desire, if they think correctly and become a living embodiment of their thoughts. So we have a match. We have a match. So, in summary, the cause of our lives is what we're thinking. The cause of our lives lies in our thought. And then Napoleon Hill has a wonderful quote, which many of us have heard. Whatever the mind of man or woman can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And again, I always very carefully look at the words. And we've done this before. But he says, whatever the mind can conceive. Whatever. That dollar amount, that position, that health, that relationship, whatever. So I'm in the middle of the night, sort of grounded. I'm like, I'm on board. Thank you for the reminder. I need to start conceiving perhaps a little differently. Not conceiving. Took Reverend Cheryl a minute. Okay. Thought equals life. So the second flash of inspiration that I got that evening as I was going through all this material is the 3 C's. Be committed, stay consistent, remain constant. So the first C, be committed. Bob Proctor has been committed to these teachings for 60 years. When he was 26 years old, he was flat broke. The most education he had ever had was 2 months of high school. If you asked him to define success, he basically would have said, enough money to get through each month. He had no concept of what was possible. And so someone took him under their wing and gave him this book. 26 years old. And he is and has been committed to learning, to growing, to remaining resilient and open and pliable and teachable. He says, in addition to this book, I have read over 3,000 books. 3,000 books on the law of attraction, the power of one's thought, the ability to create and manage and grow wealth, books about business. And he says, every single day, I'm committed to reading. I'm committed to studying. I do my spiritual practices. And he said, even when things got to that point where there was no understanding of what was going on, when things looked their bleakest, he said, I never turned against these principles. So he's believed in them. He studied them. He lived them. And his life began to change. And then he made a commitment nearly 60 years ago that his life mission would not only be to be successful in business and to be wealthy, but to teach the world these principles. Now how, so constant, right? He's committed, never turned back, kept moving forward. And when he realized the power in this book, he knew that his mission was to share it with the world. He was committed. So the second C, consistent. Now, how is this for being consistent? He has carried this book on his person with him for 60 years. Every day, he carries it wherever he goes, and he reads some part of it every day, and he applies it to every area of his life. That's consistent. And he says, I work very hard to remain consistent in the way I think. If, he says, you want to know the secret to manifestation, it is about being consistent. Have you ever seen the movie Up? The Disney animation movie? And there's a little dog in it that has a little box on him, and the box transmits what he's thinking out loud, so the owner can know what the dog's thinking. And so the dog would sort of be communicating with the owner, and then all of a sudden he would see something out of the corner of his eye and he'd go, squirrel! And so every now and again he's just talking, and then squirrel! And no consistency, right? And we have a way of doing that. We meet with a practitioner, we have a treatment. We read from a book, and we go, oh, it's the best inspiration I've ever had. And then 2 seconds later, squirrel! I'm proud. I am a child of the universe. Consistency. He said, the key to success is consistency. I remain consistent in my thinking. I remain consistent in making sure that my words match my thinking. I've joked about this before, but some people come up and they go, well, I'm a great positive thinker. I'm the happiest person in the world. And you're like, you should tell your face. Right? Be committed. Be consistent. And then he says, remain constant. Remain constant. In other words, don't give up. Don't be so easy to quit. Bob's major emphasis is you got to know what you want. Through meditation, through contemplation, through your connection to the divine, understand what you want. And he said, almost 60 years ago, I became very clear about what I wanted. And I wrote it down on a card. And he says, I have carried that card with me everywhere I go for 60 years. And he says, daily I pull that card out and I read it. And he said, what I realized over time is that I had created a vision for my life. I had created a course, a roadmap. You know, it is true. Life is like an ocean. And, I remember, I've been on a cruise ship one time. And I remember one night being outside, and you are in this infinite body of water. And I could see the stars, and I kind of freaked out at the time. I thought, this is crazy. We are in the middle. I'm like, and the other part of it is, if people ever ask you what, one of these cruise ships is like, tell them that it's like being at the Bellagio. But all of a sudden it floats away. And there's no screaming or yelling. You're actually enjoying it. But I mean, massive. It's 3 or 4 stories high. But I'm in the middle of the ocean. And during the course of the week, we encountered different kinds of weather, right? I mean, there was some days that were very nice. Other days, very windy. And the boat rocked, and I saw some of my internal organs, And then they talked, that we got to speak to the captain, and he was talking about where we are. There are heavy currents, and they have to angle, the boat just right, and they have to have the right speed in order to stay on course. And I equate this idea of having a vision for your life like being on a cruise ship. You've got to know where you're going. You've got to set your compass. You've got to have a path, because if not, the way the waves come and the winds come and the currents come, unless you have a spot where you're headed, I have no idea where you're going to end up. And eventually the boat will run out of alcohol. And so that whole fun part of it's going to end real soon, right? So, and the more I thought about this and I thought about these principles, I really realize now why the Bible in the book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 18 says this: where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he and she. Where there is no vision, the people perish. Because without a vision, we just float through the ocean. The power of thought, the power of imagination, the power of a vision. See, that vision creates the cause in our lives. And that cause then opens a portal through which the law can pour the physical equivalent of your vision into your life. We are always thinking, we are always imagining, we're always visioning. And so if we are creating causes and we're creating portals, if they are not of what we want, if they are not of our vision, then what kind of portals are we opening? What kind of stuff is the law pouring into our lives? And listen, you're the only one that can create portals in your life. So be committed. Stay consistent. And remain constant. So, after hearing about all of this and reading about Bob Proctor's life and contemplating it, you may be tempted. Well, you know, I've done all that. I'm, committed. I'm consistent. I'm constant. And, for me, and Reverend Cho, we even add in that whole thing, well, we're ministers. That makes all the difference in the world. And so you may say, you know what? I should have it all. This is stupid. You might even shake your fist to the heavens and say, why don't you just give it to me? I quit. Stupid seeds. Maybe I did say that in the privacy of my own home, in my office. And I heard a voice. It was Paco. I want you to stop arguing with God. I don't want the house to fall down while I'm in it. And then this wisdom came to me. The fact that you don't have it, and again, it can be whatever that it is for you. Maybe it is wealth. Maybe it is success in what you know is your path. Maybe it's health. Maybe it's a partnership, a relationship. But the fact that you don't have it in your life is a beautiful demonstration of the law. And what it's telling you is you ain't got it in your mind. So there's nowhere to go to change all that except right here. You. Nobody to blame. And it was funny because as I was praying about my it, damn it, as I was praying about that and shaking my fist, just give it to me, I'm tired of doing it. I've been doing it for 7 years. We must understand that the universe is interested in us. The universe is interested in you having your it. But it will continue to allow you not to have your it. It will allow you to continue to be disappointed. It will allow you to be challenged. Because it has to allow you to figure it out. And it will guide, it will direct, it will lead you to the right thinking. But it will allow you to work on it until you get it in your mind. Because that one thing, and this was very powerful for me. That one thing that is your disappointment, that one thing that's been the unmanifestable thing in your life, when you finally get it right in your mind, it will move into your life. But what was revealed to me at the very moment that you manifest that it, you will become the master of your experience. You will become the master of your fate and the captain of your soul. Giving it to you because you're whining and you're sad and it's too much work to think about it, to just give that to you would be an error. And what was revealed to me is once you get that it figured out, you will move to a level where you will be able to manifest anything and everything you want. But your it, and as a result, your it isn't a stumbling block, it's a stepping stone to so much more, to greater things. You know, it's just like when we are a baby. You know, I looked this up because I had heard something. And it's about when we're babies, how we go from being a really efficient and very active crawler, right? I mean, we get crawling. I mean, have you ever seen a baby crawl for something they really want? I mean, they look like a cockroach, you know? I mean, you turn the light on and so why does a baby who's got a perfectly effective mode of transportation, why do they risk walking? And you know, psychology can't determine why a child does that. You think, well, it's because they see people around them and they want to admit that's not true. So why? Why risk falling? Why risk being hurt? Why does that happen? And what I came to understand is each person is an expression of the universe and all of its attributes. The infinite is expressing itself through you. You weren't meant to crawl. You were meant to run. You weren't born to live in poverty and squalor. You are God in expression. You were meant to live in wealth and beauty. You weren't born to be in dis-ease. You were born to be perfection and vitality. But here's the thing. You are a co-creator in this universe. You are a co-creator, meaning there's something that you create with. We must understand that we are co-creating with a law. And that law has a nature. And that law has policies and procedures. And it says, whatsoever ye thinketh, so shall ye soweth. And why am I speaking like King James right now? I think I look very smart for a minute there. Co-creators. There is a law that we work with that says it is done unto you as you believe. When we truly discovered the law and the nature of gravity, we didn't set out to change gravity's nature. we learned how to work with gravity. And so it is with this law. We learn its nature, and we learn to work with it in its way, not your way. So if you want it, the law's right here, in and through you. Go and work with it. Go and practice with it. Go and experiment with it. And remain committed and consistent and constant. Because it will eventually, you will be guided to the right way to think and believe in order for you to open that portal that your it can come through. You know, I've been reading and watching a lot of interviews of people who have reached the pinnacle of success. And it doesn't matter if it's business, ministry, entertainment, sports. What I see is that very, very, very few, maybe 1%, are born with that silver spoon in their mouth, and you know, the consciousness is already there, and they just kind of go from one success to another. The very opposite is true. Many were struggling, many were suffering with disappointment. I saw an interview yesterday with Cindy Lauper, and she ended up being homeless. And they were so hungry. This is such an awful story. They ate a squirrel. And she says, you know what? We were starving. We were homeless. We did what we had to do to survive. But she said, you know what? I never gave up. I kept my vision before me. And of course, the rest is history. So all these people achieving great success, they remain committed, consistent, constant. And eventually, they unlocked the lock of what is possible. And the beauty of that is that when we look at them, do not look at them as the exception. They are an example. We are all the same. We were born the same way. We have the same power. We have the same possibility in us. So when you read about Oprah and great presidents and Bob Proctor, Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, who now is recorded as being the wealthiest human being in the history of humankind. Or maybe you sit in an office that's owned by Warren Buffett. Maybe it's time not to let that intimidate you, but to inspire you. Because they are the way showers. They're paving the way. And what is possible for them is possible for each of us. There is no fate. There is no luck. There is law. And it has a nature. And when we learn to use it, then we will manifest. So, you were born for success. You were born for greatness. Sorry to tell you that. And the universe ain't going to leave you alone. So you might as well just figure it out. And I really look forward to seeing your it show up in your lives. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you, Raj. Not only is he handsome, he's very smart. Very smart. Smartly dressed. And guess what? I'm going to keep working on it.
going to. Yeah, you're going to. Please welcome up again the incredible Dr. Reverend Martinette Stevens.
Thank you, Reverend Dan. That was all inspiring to my soul, for sure. Gonna make that it happen. I believe for every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows, and I believe that God is right inside of me, and always knows. I believe for everyone who looks within, they'll find the truth and see the light. Oh, I believe. I believe above the storm, the smallest prayer will still be heard. And I believe that God inside of everyone hears every word. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, I believe. I believe above the storm, the smallest will still be heard. I believe the God inside of everyone hears every word. And every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know
Good morning. This week we learned the 5-step prayer, and I'm going to be praying for these two at 5 o'clock in the morning for school, and they know how to reach out, and they know how to say the prayers themselves.
So today we made little bags for the homeless. So we ran out of some materials. It would be nice if you guys brought toothbrushes, snacks, and hand wipes. Thank you. so then we can continue to make the bags.
And as we were making these bags, we saw a little bag of pennies, and we took all of those pennies and we put them in the bottle over in the main hall, and we helped pay for a new refrigerator from the stuff that we found in the homeless packages. And thank you all for your donations. We made tons more, and they're all outside on one of the happenings tables.
For starting this.
Yeah.
I love it.
Very nice. Thank you, ladies. Awesome. All right. I would like to ask our minister, any visiting ministers and practitioners to please come forward, and our ministry of prayer team to please come forward. You know, our theme for the next couple months is spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. We talk about the form, talk about the feeling, talk about anything and everything to do with it. So in your program, every week is a prayer request. And these are the folks that pray with and for you. So thank you so much, Reverend.
So let's stand and connect. Yes.
Okay.
My dad was diagnosed with voice box cancer earlier this year, and he took control of his health, and I put in a prayer request, and he's clear right now. It was fantastic.
Wow.
Thank you.
So I just have one thing I want to do really quick, and I just want to take a minute to just thank both of you for being such tremendous human beings and for being part of our center. I'm glad you, after your show ended, you got to get whisked to LA and go to the beach and relax. And I haven't seen you and your brother in a while, and you two are growing up and to such beautiful human beings. So thank you all for you guys being here. That means a lot to us. Thank you. All right, so here we go. So close your eyes if it's comfortable for you to do so. Let's take a deep breath and allow my voice to become your voice. And so at this very moment, I recognize that there is only one. One power, one presence, one divine, infinite intelligence. There is only one mind. There is only one life. That life is God, and that life is my life now. And so as I stand in the truth of who and what I am, I declare that this week I work with the nature of the law. I think in the direction of my vision. I'm consistent in my thinking and in my speaking.
Yes.
I am clear about what I want. I focus on what I want. And I bring it into my life. I give thanks for this teaching. I give thanks for the gift of my life. And I give thanks knowing that whatsoever I can conceive and I can believe, I can achieve. And so I allow this week to be one of the greatest weeks of achievement in my life. So with gratitude and thanks, I release my powerful word into the workings of the law. I know that it is done as I have spoken. I let go, I let God, and together we say, and so it is. Have a great week.